Live from KTVN-RENO, you're watching 2 News at 4.
At this stage in the investigation, we feel confident we have the evidence that will link him to all 4 homicides.
The man suspected of killing 2 women in Douglas County and a married couple in South Reno is behind bars. What led to his arrest and the next step for prosecutors tops 2 News at 4 o'clock. The Washoe County Sheriff announced a big arrest just yesterday, saying he's confident the man they have in custody is responsible for the recent homicides. I'm Kristen Remington.
I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for being with us. Authorities tracked down this man, 19-year-old Wilbur Martinez Guzman, in Carson City Saturday and arrested him that night. Officers say Martinez Guzman was likely in the U.S. illegally. Now, we do begin with team coverage of this arrest. Paul Nelson has more on what's next for the suspected killer and how authorities will be working to build a case against him.
But first, let's go out to Ryan Kennedy, who's live at the Carson City Jail where Martinez Guzman is right now. Ryan, have we learned more about how police were able to track him down?
You know, we're still learning a lot of information, Kristen, and it's important to note, as you and I and many people heard yesterday during a press conference, that because authorities are still in the middle of their investigation, they really aren't releasing a lot of information that helps lead them to catching their suspect. However, they do say that it was a tip from the community that helped point them in the right direction.
Following the suspicious deaths of Connie Kuntz and Sophia Rankin in Douglas County, FBI forensics teams immediately went to work searching for evidence that could help them find the person responsible for these 2 killings. The findings pointed them to several different possibilities.
There have been numerous search and seizure warrants that have been issued throughout these investigations.
But then when Gerald David and his wife Sharon were found dead in their home in South Reno, the similarities in the 3 cases forced local agencies to join forces in order to stop the slayings.
Investigators, patrol, forensic science, volunteers, dispatch, all local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies came together and worked tirelessly to get us where we are in this investigation.
Their search took them to Washoe Valley, where they surveyed the highway for clues. However, no concrete evidence turned up. But then, because of a tip from the public, investigators turned their attention to the state capitol, focusing on 19-year-old Wilbur Martinez Guzman.
Beginning Friday afternoon, several multi-agency surveillance teams were deployed to numerous areas in Carson City.
By 7:30 Saturday morning, surveillance teams identified Martinez Guzman at a residence on Woodside Drive in East Carson City. Then by 4:30 that same evening, he was arrested near the Carson Mall for possession of stolen property and immigration charges.
Simultaneously to this arrest, surveillance teams seized control of an apartment residence on Menlo Drive, 2 vehicles, another family member, and later another apartment residence on Woodside Drive.
And again, Martinez Guzman is being held here at the Carson City Jail without bail. Now, because of his custody, now that he is in custody, Sheriff Darren Balaam says that they do believe they have the evidence to connect Guzman to all 4 homicides. Sheriff Balaam also says that they believe there are no other outstanding suspects at this time. Covering Crime Beat live in Carson City, Ryan Kennedy, 2 News.
All right, this arrest means the case will start moving through the court system finally.
Yeah, meanwhile, the Washoe and Douglas County District Attorneys are looking at how they'll move forward. Paul Nelson joins us now live from the newsroom with what we can expect in the coming days. So, Paul, what's next?
Well, Martinez Guzman's arraignment is scheduled for Thursday at 1:30, Ari. That'll be for the burglary, stolen property, and money charges in Carson City. The Douglas County DA says they'll file their criminal complaint this week, charging him with the murders.
Washoe County District Attorney Chris Hicks says he's focused on bringing Wilbur Martinez Guzman to justice for his alleged killing spree in northern Nevada.
Our communities were shaken by these brutal murders, and our local law enforcement needs to be commended for their dedication in apprehending Martinez Guzman.
The DA's office will file the charges in court once a warrant arrest for murder is served.
The next step in the process is for our prosecuting attorney offices to continue to work collaboratively with the lead detectives in the case.
Jackson and Hicks are discussing whether the accused killer can go on trial for all 4 murders at the same time. If so, they'll have to determine where the trial will happen, since 2 of the homicides were in Douglas County and the other 2 were in Washoe County.
A conviction for these crimes is our highest priority.
Many in the community still have questions regarding what led detectives to Martinez Guzman. Hicks says those answers will come over time and that he won't talk about some evidence until certain stages in the case.
This is to ensure a fair and impartial process. Our system rests on the defendant's presumption of innocence.
The arrest of Martinez Guzman and his potential murder trial bring relief to many northern Nevadans, and Hicks hopes it brings some solace to the victims' families.
Our northern Nevada community needs to embrace the family members of these victims and show them what kind of community we are.
3 out of the 4 victims were older than 60, so that could mean an additional 20 years in prison more for each crime. Prosecutors could also go for the death penalty, and that usually costs about $500,000 more than a regular trial. A lot of work goes into these murder cases, so it could be quite some time before the defendant has his day in court. Covering Crime Beat live in the newsroom, Paul Nelson, 2 News.
All right, Paul, thank you. And with that suspect behind bars, some locals say they're already feeling a little bit safer in their homes.
As Jefferson Tyler reports, many say they're breathing a sigh of relief after this arrest.
That is a relief. That's a great relief.
Absolutely amazing. I think this whole county has been on edge.
What a difference a day makes. On Saturday, people flocked to Home Depot in South Reno to buy home security measures. Over the last 2 weeks, 4 people have been killed in home invasions, 2 in South Reno and 2 in Gardnerville.
You know, people are talking about it. We live in a small town and the word gets around, so the town is on edge, I know that.
On Sunday, that fear was partially alleviated when law enforcement announced the arrest of 19-year-old Wilbur Ernesto Martinez Guzman in connection with those homicide cases. People from all over the area are thankful a suspect has finally been arrested.
I do feel safer. I'm glad they caught the person.
I feel better that he's been possibly apprehended.
Everybody in the community feels a lot safer. Everybody can exhale, go out and enjoy themselves and not worry about looking over their shoulder.
Some people remain unconvinced that Guzman is the one who committed the crimes.
I don't feel very confident yet in anything until it's guaranteed that it's him.
Still, everyone is thankful the sheriff's departments in the area were able to team with local police and the FBI to find and arrest a suspect.
I feel safer today than I did yesterday because I know that the authorities within the 3 counties have done everything possible to capture him and put us all at ease.
It definitely is a reminder for us as people to remember what we need to do to stay vigilant, to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to stay safe.
Covering the story, Jefferson Tyler, 2 News.
And certainly, as we heard during that press conference, deputies, the sheriff urged residents to always be vigilant, and that means locking doors, using outdoor lighting if at all possible, and reporting any suspicious activity.
And as we continue to follow this case, you can always stay up to date on our website and using our 2 News app.
Also in Crime Beat now, Lyon County deputies are asking for help after a second kidnapping attempt in Dayton. Deputies say the most recent incident happened around 5 p.m. Friday near Palmer Court. A man ordered a child to get into his van or else he would hurt him. That boy was able to get away safely. The suspect is described as a white man in his late 30s, balding with brown hair and a goatee. He also reportedly had a small tattoo on the left side of his neck and was driving a spray-painted van. Deputies say this case is possibly related to the similar one in the Sutro area that we reported on Friday. And take a look here. Sparks Police are looking for 4 suspects who allegedly broke into All-Star Rents on Glendale Avenue early Sunday morning and stole various tools. We have a better look at one of the suspects right there in the upper right corner. Police say more than $5,000 worth of equipment was taken. The suspects then fled the scene in this van. If you know anything about the burglary or attempted abduction case in Dayton, contact Secret Witness.
Well, detectives say they've arrested a Reno man suspected of burglaries in both Washoe and Placer counties. After getting a tip from a Sparks detective, Placer County deputies confronted 35-year-old Timothy Trujillo in Roseville. He reportedly hit a deputy and tried to flee the scene, but was arrested. Crews also searched his car and found meth and stolen property.
Now, here's Chief Meteorologist Mike Halter with your first look at the weather.
Well, it looks like we're finally going to go into at least a somewhat extended period of mild and stable weather. There's a very tiny chance midweek here we could see a light shower come through, but the skies are beginning to clear off here. The winds are backing down. We are left with some pretty cold temperatures right now, but I'll tell you, the skiers are loving it. Snowpack totals now at average for this time of the year here now at the 120 to 130% mark. So all of that snow over the last couple of days, which, by the way, totaled up in some ski areas over the last 7 days to over 80 inches, is really giving the ski areas and our water situation a nice little shot in the arm. A couple of light showers still kind of dropping down here from the north. We're going to see our skies begin to clear out. And with that and a little bit of snow left on the ground in a few spots, we do have a very, very cold night ahead of us coming up here over the next probably the next couple of nights, really. Now, you notice right now that northerly flow giving us chilly temperatures. Those winds will die out tomorrow, and they'll actually be fairly light. Coming out of the east, that'll keep our temperatures down quite a lot. As we get into Wednesday, that flow kind of changes, dies out a little bit more, maybe even comes in more from the southwest direction. We'll start to warm things up toward the middle to latter part of the week. But again, do we have any chance of any kind of showers realistically? A very slight one. We'll tell you more about that, and we'll give you the full week's forecast coming up here in just a bit.
All right, Mike, thank you. Thanks to the snow yesterday, we dealt with some chain controls in some areas today. And thanks to chain installers on the side of the road, hundreds of drivers were able to make it over the pass, including a northern Nevada woman who would have otherwise been stuck. Jamie Hayes has her story.
As snow continued to fall in the early morning hours, drivers got ready for the long road ahead. But not everyone was prepared.
A lot of times people just don't pay attention to what they should be doing, traveling. Nowadays with the smartphone, there's really no issue or excuse to not have chains.
And for Libby Daly, she takes the drive to Truckee every day.
I'm a biller, but I work for the hospital.
She saw that there was chain controls and pulled over to install them.
One of the chain guys just stopped me immediately and said, "We can help put your chains on."
But she didn't have any money on her to pay for their service.
One of the guys here says, "We're here to help you. We're not here to make money. We're not here to take your money. We're here to help you to make sure that you get to work safe."
And she didn't have any money, and I helped her.
Well, they put my chains on for free.
Because that's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do, you know. A lot of people are paying us. We're making decent money, and, you know, so that's what we do. We help people when we can.
It was amazing because I thought I was going to have to turn around and miss a day of work.
You're the man! And thanks to their kind gesture, she was on her way in no time. Covering the story, Jamie Hayes, 2 News.
Oh, what a great surprise. And Daly also says she often sees speeding drivers and chains not installed correctly. She even said her car was recently damaged because of chains left out on the roadway. How people across the country chose to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
New video evidence is shedding new light on a controversial video from the nation's capital.
But first, President Trump makes a deal to get funding for a border wall. Are Democrats budging?
You're watching 2 News at 4. Coverage you can count on.
Sierra RV.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at some of the top headlines from around the nation.
Democrats are still firm in not giving funding for a border wall despite a DACA compromise floated by President Trump over the weekend. The president is offering a 3-year extension to immigrants brought to the country illegally as children and for refugees living in America in exchange for the $5.7 billion in wall funding. But Democrats say it was the president who took away those protections in the first place. They want the government to reopen before discussing the deal. So far, there seems to be no road to a compromise between the Republican-controlled Senate and the Democrat-controlled House.
All right, new video is telling a different story of this encounter in Washington, D.C. between a group of Kentucky high school students and a Native American elder. Parents of the students say a group of protesters called the Black Hebrew Israelites had taunted the boys and shouted obscenities. That's when Native American activist Nathan Phillips went between the groups and began beating his drum, telling CBS News he was hoping to calm the situation. A now viral video showing the boys chanting along with Phillips sparked outrage, with some saying the students were mocking him. The high school where the boys attend has apologized to Phillips.
Well, looking around the world now today, British Prime Minister Theresa May addressed Parliament, saying they need to work together to avoid a hard Brexit. As she pointed out, if they can't agree on a plan, the only alternative would have to be canceling Brexit altogether. She also said she was against holding a second vote on the matter, saying it would undermine trust in the political system. Economists warn leaving the EU without a deal would hurt the nation's economy.
Officials say the death toll from a fuel pipeline fire in Mexico has reached 85. The site of the explosion had been a popular spot for people to siphon fuel as the country faces a fuel shortage. On Friday, someone had punctured the pipeline, causing it to spew gasoline. When people gathered to collect the fuel, it ignited, causing the deadly explosion. Funerals for victims began yesterday.
Well, the skies are starting to break up a little bit, and that means a cold night is ahead. Do we have any more storms headed our way here over the last third of the month? We'll tell you coming up right after this.